Good evening, one and all. I'm on time. All right. How's everybody doing? It's Tuesday. It's 8 o'clock. And we have some questions already coming in. Interesting questions too. Hoi, Patrick. How are you? Jim, you're looking for a good light diffuser for macro work in the field. Do you have any money? That's the question. If you have money, no, actually that's not the question. It doesn't make any difference. If you don't have money, you don't need to. You can make the best diffuser without much money at all. You need to buy some paper. I recommend tracing paper if you're limited on your funds, and this stuff. I just broke my printer. If you're independently wealthy, get this stuff. It's Vellum. It's about twice as thick as tracing paper. I'm going to demonstrate. Jim, this is for you, so take notes. That's a piece of vellum. It's very heavy, very thick, and the best diffuser out there. A packet of this paper costs, I think, nearly $10. If you're using the MF12, did you say you're using the MF12? Doesn't matter, any flash. Of course, if you're using something smaller, you'd make it a little bit smaller. But what you're going to do is take a pencil. Easier said than done. Take a pencil and you're going to draw this shape on your vellum. I don't have an overhead projector. Can you see that? What you do then is take a pair of scissors and cut along those lines. And I'm sure you can see where this is going. If it looks like I have done this before, I have done this before. Then you take some tape. I recommend black Gorilla tape. I mean, the tape is black. The Gorilla could be any color, I guess. You need about that much. Cut it into 4 pieces. And I know you can figure out the rest. The beauty of this is it's a fantastic diffuser, but it also gives you that all-important distance between the flash tube and the diffuser. Now you'll notice I'm putting the tabs that I made fairly far forward on the flash. Then go to the other side. The wide one goes on the wide dimension, obviously. I make these in the field. I carry a piece of vellum in my camera bag, and if I trash one or lose it or it blows away, I just make another one. What that take 2 minutes with me talking, and this is the best, softest softbox you could get for one sheet of vellum, and this will not come off accidentally. It really won't with that Gorilla tape. That's all you got to do. You can also spend 20 bucks and buy a softbox, but the softbox isn't as good as this, and the $20 would be better spent on me, in my opinion. Thank you to my anonymous benefactor, the kind gentleman or lady that sent this to me. This is a 15mm layover. wide angle macro lens, and I was outside today in my garden shooting a video for you guys on how to set up your wide angle shots after getting some criticism after the competition about criticizing people's photographs and not showing you what I'm supposed to be doing. So I fixed that. I made the video today. There were some questions right at the beginning. I'm going back to the beginning to see. Yes, we are on daylight savings time. But Andrew, you figured that out. Walter wants a demonstration of how to use M42 tubes to mount a microscope objective, a 4x finite objective, on a Fuji X-T2 mirrorless camera. I just happen to have a Fuji X-T2 mirrorless camera. We'll pretend I've got the M42 extension tubes. I should have one piece at least. There you go. An M42 extension tube. How do you mount this with a 4x objective? Okay, the first thing to remember is that you need a distance of 150 millimeters between your sensor and the rear element of the objective. Okay, so you have to subtract the flange focal distance of the camera, which I don't know what it is for a Fuji. I'll measure it. It's not much. Mirrorless cameras have a very short flange focal distance. I'll just guess. There should be a sensor plane marking somewhere on here. I don't see it. Let's say 20 millimeters is probably about right. It's about 45 on my DSLR. So let's say it's 20 for the sake of argument. That leaves you 130 millimeters of extension before you get to your objective. And that distance is important because the thing functions better at the correct tube length, because that's where the image forms if you're going to be looking at it through an eyepiece. So what we need to do is attach something to here that will take M42s, and that is going to be a bayonet mount for the Fuji, which is, I think, what, XT mount, something like that. I don't have one, but take my word for it, they exist. It's got a bayonet on one side that goes on the camera, looks kind of like this, and on the other side it has a 42. You may only be able to find a 43, in which case you're going to need a 42 to 43 step up. And they're easy to find too. I'll put all this in the show notes. But yeah, so to get from the camera to the 42 tubes is easy. Then you just need 100 and about another 128 millimeters of extension tubes, and then one of these. Except it's going to say RMS to M42. And do you know where you get them? We Macro. They sell them. Okay? So that's all. That's all. Just the extension tubes. And We Macro sells the extension tubes in 50 millimeter sections with flocking. So get 2 of those and one of their 20s. One of these for the RMS to 42. And you're set. That's it. That's the whole thing. That was a bit of a scramble because I didn't get that question early, so it's a good thing I happen to have this on my desk. I had a student here today, and we were doing some macro stuff in the back garden, and I was using this camera. Not my favorite camera, to be honest. It's the mirror's broken on it. It doesn't work at all. It's a mirrorless camera, just in case you're wondering. So does that help, Walter? If it doesn't, get in touch with me, but that's all you need. That'll do it. Can you show us your lighting setup for high magnification? Yeah. Well, yes, I can show it to you. No, I can't. I really can't. I only have the one camera today. I don't have a way of taking you over there. The time I tried it with the GoPro, it broke the OBS thing. I can show you some pictures of it. Let me think about it. I'll come back to you. You know, I have a video series on 20x magnification photography that came out in the summer, this last summer, and it's titled 20x something or other for the video series. And the second in the series, and I think the third in the series, dealt specifically with lighting, on how you set it up and everything, how you set the flashes, and you know, it's the whole 9 yards. So that would be the place to go, and I would show it to you if the camera situation was better. I still don't have the switching box, even though a very generous donor made a contribution to cover the switching box. That was the day I was told I had to move. Bad timing, but we'll get it fixed. So yeah, I'll if that doesn't help, if going to those videos you still need more information, then let me know and I'll help you. We've talked about the diffuser, and what am I using for diffusion on my flashes or around my subject these days? Robert, it depends on what I'm doing. If I am photographing, say, something like this, which is going to be a demo I'm going to do in just a minute. Let me minimize that. You don't want to see that. So this is an owl fly. And if I was going to shoot this, I would use two layers of diffusion, possibly 3, because I'm shooting on a black background using quite a lot of light, because this is a very tiny subject. So I would use the MF12 built-in flash diffuser, the little dome that it comes with, and then I would use an inverted tunnel open on the bottom that goes right over my subject and covers all of the flashes. That has been my go-to in the studio for a while, and I love it because it's super simple, it's super easy, and it gives consistently good results. And if I want to adjust the light intensity, once that's in place, excuse me, I was out filming in goldenrod today, and that's another thing I'm allergic to. But anyway, the 1 or 2 sheets of tracing paper or 1 sheet of vellum that you hang over the, well, I'll go and get that and show it to you. If I can undo it. So on each side of my rig I have vertical poles that I attach things to, and this gets attached right at the top of one of the poles. And this is my tunnel. My subject, if this was my subject, was my face, this thing would come down and the flashes would be outside this and the subject would be in the center here. And I can lift it up or drop it to get the diffusion closer or nearer. And I've been using this now for years, and frankly it gives me everything I need. Once that's in place, I can adjust the intensity of the light and change the character completely. I've got another, I was going to give you guys a choice of which of these pictures I use to do the demonstration tonight, but this was done with the same diffusion, though I pulled the diffusion back a little bit. And what was the other thing I had? I think a weevil. Yeah. So 3 black background shots, all using the same diffusion, yet the lighting looks quite different for all of them. So it's a good all-round, simple and durable method that doesn't get stuff in the way. All right, Blair, you're hopefully having a good Wednesday already. Way ahead of us down there, way ahead of us. Steve, how's New Jersey treating you? Must be raining up there by now. Glad you made it back again, Macro. Everything about you, I was hoping you would. I thought you might. Good. Hey, Ron, you moved to St. Louis from somewhere, right? Out west. Or were you moving out west from St. Louis? I can't remember. 3 o'clock on Wednesday. In the morning? No, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 18 hours ahead, New Zealand, from us. I know that because this Saturday, if you are one of my Patreon supporters, we have our private top secret get-together on Zoom for Patreon folks. So if you're one of them, mark it on your calendar. Did I say 8 or 9? It's either 8 or 9. Let me look at my calendar. I'll let you look at my calendar so that it doesn't show my calendar. That would be embarrassing. I hope you can't see my calendar. Let me see. It's 8 a.m. Central Time, the AWP combined Zoom chat session. You should have got an invitation if you are a Patreon member. If you're not a Patreon member, you won't have got an invitation. But you can become a Patreon member. Patreon folks throw in a few bucks a month to pay me so that I can get paid, because that's the only way I get paid. So I'm super grateful to those wonderful people, and you are always welcome to become one of them. And one of the things I do for the Patreon folks is we get together and have a 2-hour session on a Saturday morning. I do it twice a month, sometimes more than that. I did a surprise one the other day, and we just talk about whatever's on your mind. It's like this, except you're actually there on the screen, and I'm talking to you face to face, which is nice. I enjoy doing it, and I think the folks who come enjoy doing it. We talk a lot about photography, all kinds of photography, mostly technical stuff though, technical photography. So buying requires money. It does down there as well? I thought it was just here. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Well, Borderland Peppers, good evening. Borderland Peppers, that's not a familiar name. Do I know you, sir? You'd think I would remember that. So, let me see. Hey, Arthur, I've been thinking about you. Is everything okay? I hope. I hope this week was tolerable for you. Wow. Okay. Does that Vellum have a GSM rating? Possibly. Possibly it does. I don't know what that is, but I bet it does. No, it doesn't. GSM is something like grams per metric ton or something. It's a paper thing. Let me look it up for you. It's I know where to find it because somebody asked me about it the other day. So just bear with me. This is exciting stuff, watching me surf the web. But I know what it's called. I dropped a bottle of ethyl acetate on a tile floor, and it shattered. And I don't have any ethyl acetate anymore, but I was very sleepy for the rest of the day. You got to be careful with that. So I just bought a gallon of it in a plastic bucket. I'm looking for the actual stuff that I use. It's called thick vellum, and it is super thick. Here it is. Thick translucent vellum. You want to see it? I bet you do. It's this stuff on the right. thick translucent vellum paper, Oplimio, 42 sheets, 167 GSMs. Printable tracing vellum for invitations or macro photography. It doesn't say, but it should. What do you think? Does that sound good? That's the stuff. That's the stuff you need. You want to see what it looks like through the dark camera with the time delay? Probably not. I can't look at this. It's too off-putting. Let me transition back. I tried to set up a better camera, but my lighting wasn't good enough. Okay, so let me get back to work here. So 167 is the answer to that question. Blair, what does it mean? Let us know that. Alistair, welcome from Carlisle. Bruce, glad you could make it, sir. Good day. Hi from Allan in Houston. Great to have you here, Allan. Alrighty, let me see. Terry Wagner from the Blue Ridge Mountains. Tennessee? East Tennessee? I think. Yes? No? I like that part of Tennessee. Isa, welcome from Toronto. Gilles, good evening. What's French for good evening? Bonsoir? Something like that? Could be. Bud, good evening. How are you? I was talking to Bud. Bud Parrott is one of one of the channel's longest going supporters. Been a huge help for the channel and for me personally. And he is, in his own right, one killer macro photographer. Really rigorous studio practice. He turns out some stunning photographs. He also happens to be something of a phenom when it comes to using the Photoshop tools. So he's probably going to be cringing when I give this mini tutorial here in a second, but Bud is really good with some of the more advanced manipulations you can do, especially in macro. And I've been trying to talk him into doing a video thing with me where we can, do some try out some new techniques and show them off and see if anybody's interested. Is there anybody here tonight who would be interested in maybe if we did another live stream, another day of the week, maybe once a month or so, and just dealt with Photoshop issues? Would that be interesting to anybody? I don't even know if that would be interesting to Bud. I mean, because he'd have to be here. If I was doing it, he'd be doing it with me. Because I don't consider myself a Photoshop expert. I consider myself knowing it enough to do my own stuff, but I get a bit uncomfortable teaching it. Well, let me know, because that's something that we can do. But I hope that that's okay with you. I probably should have asked you. Hey, Luke, glad you made it. Doing well. Yes, it's still hot down here, even though we're now in winter. Oh, I just did made the thing disappear. Who was it? It is the person here who was telling me or asking me about their Z6 and the flash not working, because I have an answer for you. Somebody got in touch and said the Godox flashes were not working on their Z6, and they were shooting in silent mode and wanted to know if there was a workaround for it. There is, and I'll tell you as soon as I remember who it was I was supposed to be telling. The fact of the matter is, a lot of the Z cameras that they do not fire. Z6 and Z7 do not fire on silent mode unless you have first curtain set up. And if you're firing on the first curtain, it will flash. But apparently there are some Godox flashes that are a fraction of a millimeter too. The contact is too far forward and it slightly misses the Z post in the middle. And apparently all you have to do is back it off a tiny little bit and then retighten it and it'll work. But only when your front curtain synchronization is on. All right. The XT2, which I did not know, has a flange distance of 17.7. Well, 20 was a good guess. Good enough, I guess. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that, Blair. Maybe you can teach me how to use that camera sometime. That would be nice, because it's one of those things. I don't pick it up often enough to have learned it, and it's always on my microscope. It's my microscope camera, so I don't have to know how to focus and stuff like that, but it is a bit bewildering. Is there a formula to measure magnification with different amount of extension tubes and teleconverters? Yes, there is. You use an 80mm macro from Fuji and sometimes use it with a teleconverter and extension tube. Well, I am not a fan of using extension tubes and macro lenses myself, and I'm definitely not a fan of using teleconverters because they tend to cause problems with color fringing and actually a lot of geometric aberrations as well as color aberrations, and they knock quite a bit of the light out as well. I don't really like them. I'm actually more on board with putting, say, a good quality diopter like a Nisi diopter or a Raynox in front of that lens rather than putting something behind it. But let's say you're going to do it regardless, then yes, there are several good calculators. I'll tell you the one I like. If you have access to the computer or to the internet, if you go to it's called extrememacro.co.uk. That's it. Shall I write it in chat for you as like I was being helpful? I will do that. So let me write that down. It's extreme. I'll spell it properly here. Extreme. I think it's just macro. You guys know this, don't you? This website .co.uk. Does that look right? I think that's it. Try it. If it's not that, I'll give it to you in a minute. He has a calculation page, and he has about 10 different sets of calculations, and they're really quite good. There's one or two of them I think there are better versions of, but by and large, it's a great one-stop place to go to get calculators. I know a lot of my viewers have turned me onto this site, and it's good. And it's Photo Pills is the other place that you could go. But this is really, really simple. He uses a very basic formula, and it works. Works great. So try that out. I'm embarrassed to say I've forgotten the gentleman's name because I contacted him to see if he wanted to come and chat with me on the channel. But I think he answers his email as frequently as I do. Never. So, yeah, I haven't heard back from him. Somebody maybe could remind me what his name is so that I don't just call him. All right. Always puzzled me. This is Allan, puzzled. When I use the Nikon FTZ converter to adapt F lenses to Z mirrorless, does this act as an extension tube and change the magnification? No, it doesn't. That's a very good question, though. It is explained when you realize the fact that you can put a piece of regular Nikon glass on the Z system, but you can't put a Z lens on a piece of camera equipment from Nikon before mirrorless. It's all because of the flange focal distance. Remember, the lens is going to form an image on the sensor, and the two are designed together to do that. So with a mirrorless, it has a very short step from the lens to the sensor. So you could, if you wanted to use an old lens, you could put that on the converter, and it would still form the image at 44.6 millimeters for a Nikon lens. A Nikon, well, a full-frame Nikon lens will form an image at 44.6 millimeters, which is the flange focal distance. But this is only, what did we say, 17? I mean, for the Nikon, say 20. That's 20 millimeters behind the sensor that the image will form. So we need to move this out to that distance. And when we do, we haven't added extension. We have simply repositioned the sensor. So when you're asking, does that equate to adding some amount of magnification? No, it doesn't. It leaves the lens exactly how it would be on your mirrorless. It just moves it so that it syncs up with the sensor. I hope that makes perfect sense to you. Well, Mr. Borderland, welcome. I'm glad you joined us. We do have fun here, and we have all manner of activities. I think we have an egg and spoon race coming up later in the year, but you're welcome anytime. And we do lots of these live events, and yeah, so you're always welcome. All right, Bud came in with a 167 GSM for the Vellum. How does he know that? Well, he's the man that sent me the Vellum, which I should have said in the first place. Thank you, Bud. I really appreciate that. Grams per square meter, for those of you who don't know that, I'll let you know that. Oh, Bruce also mentioned that. Grams per square meter, right? Square meter. I would never have guessed that. All right, I'm going to answer the rest of these questions as quickly as I can and then get into this mini Photoshop tutorial. And I'm doing it because somebody asked me about a particular thing that I've shown before, but apparently it was fairly popular and other people wanted to see it again. So I'll do that very quickly. Let me see. Western North Carolina. I have some of my spawn lives in Western North Carolina. My son. What's the name of the place though? It's near Charlotte. Gastonia. Yeah. I think that's near the Blue Ridge Parkway. Regarding sharpness, is it preferred to use a shorter focal length in contrast to the 208mm with the Raynox DCR relay lens, and subsequently enlarge the image on the computer? It depends. It depends. I don't think short focus necessarily makes the image sharper. It can, though. It's a little bit mysterious, actually, why it would, and it really isn't just because of it's you're moving the image plane in reference to the sensor, and yeah, I really can't answer that question without doing a little bit more homework. I switch back and forth between the full extension to 208. And the short extension at 144. And I do that, honestly, just because it's something that Robert O'Toole has done in the past. In fact, that's a question that I will get answered. I need to talk to Mr. Littlefield about that, because that is the kind of thing that he probably wrote the book on that. So I will ask him, and then I will report back to you next week. It was always a mystery to me. I know that it involves calculating all kinds of strange numbers and to do with where the various images are formed in the chain. But I honestly, for the life of me, never figured out why it was 144 millimeters. But I will come with an answer for you next time, and I'll tell you if it's supposed to be sharper. In my hands, it hasn't been. Alrighty, yes, a lot of people want to talk Photoshop. Now I'll ask Bud. Bud, are you up for this? Oh my goodness, we're in Austria, Smoke Deaf. I like Austria, it's nice. I like Switzerland too. Yeah, Robert is digging the new internet connection. It works, and that is stunning. I meant to tell you guys, last week I put out 3 videos, and the longest one was, the Wydell video. I hope everybody liked that chat. I certainly enjoyed doing it. But that was a long video, and it took like 30 seconds. 30 seconds to upload to YouTube. There was a time a month ago when it might have taken 2.5 days to upload that video. 30 seconds. If you ever get the chance to get this up-down parity giga whatever internet, it's worth every penny of it. And I'm paying less than I was before, so I'm digging it too, Robert. I really am. John from Northern Ireland, hi, welcome, glad you made it back. And Allan also. Now, Allan is somebody whose opinion I hold in high regard, and if he wants to do it, we're doing it. So there you go. We will set up a Photoshop session. Separate night, is that what you're thinking, or during the weekend? What would work for you guys? Give me some ideas while we're talking about it. And probably Bud should chime in on that. But if we were to do it live like this, and maybe pick 2 or 3 pictures and just work through them, and Bud and I could do the talking and what have you, and you could send in your questions and we could answer them as we go. That's kind of what I was thinking of. If that sounds good to you guys, then let me know a day of the week, and it's probably going to have to be a bit longer than the usual hour thing. Photoshop is not something to rush through. So let me know while we're still talking tonight, and I'll jot down all your recommendations. And I have spent quite a few hours sitting down in person with Bud on several occasions to learn some of the tricks he uses. He uses some third-party programs that go with it, and he'll tell you all about that, I'm sure. But yeah, it's really helped me a lot. But this would not really be a beginner type. Well, it might be, I guess. We could do it both ways. All right. Gilles, Amazon USA $9.99. Amazon Canada $28.66. Holy mackerel. How much is a Canadian dollar worth? That would be the key question here. If it's worth $9.99 divided by $28.66, then you're okay. But all right. Al, you're right. Johann Ingles Lenoble at Extreme. Why did I not remember that? It's not an easy name to remember, Johann. But he's got a great site. He did so much work on that site. Very impressive. Very nice guy. If any of you know him personally, get in touch with him and tell him this English guy wants to talk to him so that you can hear it. And and maybe he'll answer my email. I have received an introduction to Steve Axford, the very famous Australian fungus photographer, and his photography is utterly amazing. Look him up, Steve Axford, and he has expressed interest in coming on to talk. And I haven't been able to connect with him just yet, but a friend did. So that's going to be great. That after Allison, he's the equivalent of Allison with mushrooms. So that'll be fantastic. Okay. Somebody must have asked Blair a question about Fujifilm. Don't know what the question was, so I can't answer it. And John Lamb came in with Johan Ingles as well. And all right, Bruce is thinking of a question. How do mid-range mirrorless cameras cope with moving insects outdoors? I'm guessing rolling shutter and flash problems would be bad. The mechanical shutter could be used but defeats the purpose. I'll be honest, you're asking the wrong person. I honestly do not know. I have never shot a moving insect with this. In fact, I've only shot a few not moving insects with it, unless they were under the microscope. And I'm not gonna tell you anything about it on the basis of my limited experience. I think you should probably talk to some of the guys over on Discord who are, now well into third, fourth, fifth year of mirrorless and do everything with them. I have never heard anybody complaining about rolling shutter with the Z6. But then again, I don't know a lot of people shoot bees in flight like you do, Bruce. So I'm sorry I can't be more helpful on that. I'll add that to my. You're talking about shooting in silent mode, I take it. The student that I've been teaching today shows up with a Canon. What's the Canon ginormous camera? She very smartly took it off the table, so I wouldn't be tempted to show it to you. It's this big. It's fantastic. Whatever it is, it is almost an impressive enough electronic viewfinder that I would consider using one if I had $7,000 to spare. It's humongous. This thing's bigger than my head, but anyway, and I know that thing won't have problems with rolling shutters. It'll probably go catch the bugs for you. So I'm not doing well on answering questions tonight, am I? Mr. Peppers, you're from Switzerland. Whereabouts? Zurich? That's the. I've got several friends there. I can't remember where they're located. I just forgot. I almost said a bad word, I think. No, can't remember. Tell us where you're from, Borderland. So it's in the middle of the night there, right? It's 3 o'clock. No, 9 o'clock. So it's it's 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. You're either up early or up late. Somebody else has got Gigabyte. I've got rolling shutter on my screen here. Yeah, the gigabit fiber is night and day different. I'm just so afraid of, you get conditioned when your internet keeps cutting out during live streams that I'm afraid to push the kilobyte per second setting up so that the video's smoother. But it's not dropping any frames. Hasn't dropped a frame yet today, so that's wonderful. So Bud liked the chat with Mr. Waddell, and I did too. He's a charming, funny chap, great photographer, great videographer, really clever, knows a lot about this whole YouTube business. Clearly stuff I don't know anything about, but yeah, I'm hoping that in the future we can get together and maybe try to teach one another something, because I think that he's got a lot that I would like to learn from him, and a little bit that maybe I can help him with, but who knows. But that might be fun if you would think that would be fun to watch me stumbling around trying to do something difficult outdoors. Southeastern end of Austria. Yeah, but oh, close to the Hungarian border. Okay, you lost me there. It's nowhere near the Matterhorn. I'm going to look at a map. Sorry, guys. I can't stand not knowing where somebody is. when they just described it to me. I'm pretty good at geography, but apparently not when it comes to Austria. So you're in Graz or Vienna? That's the question. Yep. That's my guess. And you are nowhere near the Matterhorn, so don't go looking for it. It's miles to your left. Gosh. Europe is such an amazing place. Have you guys traveled a lot in Europe? I haven't traveled nearly enough there, and there are so many parts that weren't even open for travel when I was growing up there. All right. So there is one other interview I have lined up already that I haven't mentioned anything about because I don't want to jinx it in case it falls through. But if it happens, it will be a real important interview. Yeah, Allan likes Axford as well. He's really good. And Bruce thinks the Bud and Photoshop thing would be great. I will take that as being so. Just Photoshop or software in general. I know that Bud is going to want to talk about TK something or others. Kuiper. That's a program that he uses, and I know that he uses other add-ons too. So yeah, I would say it'll probably start out as being Photoshop and related because that's what I use and what he uses. But if there's interest, we can talk about other software. I bet there aren't any votes for me to talk about Xerine though, right? I think people think I've talked about that quite enough. All right. So we could do that, yes, definitely. Oh, and you do want Xerine. Yeah, well, I'm always happy to talk about Xerine. I know Xerine like Bud knows Photoshop, and I'm super comfortable talking about that. All righty, Canadian dollar is worth, did anybody guess right? 74 US cents. I forgot what we were even talking about with the money, but it doesn't sound like it was a good deal. Oh, your Vellum for 30 bucks? No, that's not a good deal. Don't buy it. John Lamb, R3, no rolling shutter. Hey, Robbie, glad you made it back, sir. And rarely a problem with the R5. How many R's do you have, John Lamb? Several, 2 at least. All right, burn. Why did I not guess that? Because I would never have thought of it. But I know where burn is. It is right there. You just have to take my word for it. I can't even find it on the map. So we'll skip geography for the rest of the day. And Mr. Borderland Peppers is a hot pepper breeder. And you've fallen in love with macro photography. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Really? Are you serious? You grow hot peppers and you came to this channel so you could learn to photograph them better. Do you know what my son's hobby is? Making peppers grow. He's growing some Argentinian purple things that are poisonously hot. Yeah, but I'm going to photograph them for him at Christmas. That's fantastic. I'll do a video on it. I'll do a video on pepper photography. I might even go see if I can buy a pepper plant. Do they come pre-grown so that I can just kill it myself when I get it home? I mean, they won't grow under my care, but they will, yeah, I can photograph them before they die. If you're interested in that, Mr. Peppers, let me know, because photographing not insects is a popular thing these days on the channel. People don't want me photographing as many insects. So I'm going to put that on the list. Pepper photographs? Are you photographing them for a catalogue, Mr. Borderland, or for online sales, or is it for big posters in your shop, or is it for all of those? Let me know, because I'll put together a video that will be maximally helpful to you. And if you decide to become part of Patreon, then you'll be able to communicate directly with me much easier. But that was a pretty hard sell for the Patreon channel, wasn't it? Forget I said that. All right. I think somebody disagreed with me on the next line. Comment to John and Al. No, that's Bruce. What is he saying, though? Those cameras have a stacked sensor with a fast read rate, but the mid-range mirrorless generally have much slower. Okay. I believe that's probably true. See, you're leaving me in the dust. I get the feeling, Bruce, that you're in the market for a mirrorless camera. Is that what you're talking about and trying to find out? Well, yeah, don't ask me. I'm going to have to buy one. I'm going to have to buy a Nikon, I think, and catch up with the rest of the world, because nobody's going to want to watch a YouTube channel where I'm the last person using a mirrorless camera to do macro. I mean, using a mirrored camera. Smoke Def is in Burgenland, which is east of Graz in Styria. That's the home of styrofoam, I think. They invented that there. Could be. Ooh. Yes, to software. Oh, what time is it? Are we? Oh, good grief! We've only got a few minutes, guys. We're going to do a really quick Borderland. Yes, I am going to check out your Instagram. Give us your handle. Tell us what your name is on Instagram, and I'll go over there after this. But I'm going to take you guys over to Photoshop for uno momento. We're going to pick one of these pictures. Let me select this one. No, this one. I'm just talking to myself. Not that one. I'm thinking, nah, probably the last one. Actually, you know, this one might be a little quicker to do. The question was, how do I use my Photoshop gradient that I sometimes use in my photography? A lot of the photographs that you see of mine that I put up here in videos will have a gradient of color, and it's usually very subtle. It's maybe going from black to very dark blue or something like that, and it's a very simple process. And I take out the pin with the same process, so it's kind of a one-stop thing. This is an owl fly, by the way, and it's only about 5 millimeters long. It's really little. That's it on a 3/0 pin, which is just glued to its butt, and the thing's long as well. It looks like one of those Sikorsky crane helicopters. What you do is go to the background and hit Command J to duplicate the layer. Then you can have a backup in case you mess things up. Then what I'll do is I just go to a selection tool. This one's fine. The quick selection tool works perfectly well. And then go to select subject and click on it. Photoshop basically does the rest. Now what I'll do is I don't go in and select and mask that. It's just an unnecessary step, but I do get rid of the pin. Now if you want to add to the mask by including things that were cut off, you would just paint over them. But if you want to remove parts that you don't want to be masked, you have to hit the Option key on a Mac and then just scribble over it. And that will take that part of the selection out. Then with the Option key not pressed, I can put back anything shouldn't have taken. So these are things I want. I don't want this black piece here, but the trick, oh dear, sorry, that was that was the command instead of the option. So I'd just do that. All I'm doing is going inside the area that I want to exclude, pressing the option key and painting in there. It's taken this leg out, but we'll put it back in. Sometimes you have to do this a couple of times, but there's another step where we're going to refine this at the end. So just look around, make sure you've got everything. That was an option click to get rid of that. That's getting to be close enough. Yeah, that'll do. Look all around, make sure there's no big bits that are missing. That's good. Now, part of the trick of doing this quickly and easily is to use a dark background for your gradient. But now as we've got this masked, let us create the mask. You go to the bottom and the white thing with the circle in it, if you click on that, it'll create a mask. Now it's blocking out all the background, all the black, the pin, everything that we didn't select. Now what you do is go to the background layer, click on it to make it active, and then hit the new layer icon. That's the square with the plus sign in it. This is where we're going to put our gradient. So I go to the gradient tool and then click on the gradient that is there, and it's come up on the other screen, so I'll drag it over. What I have here is a black going to very, very dark blue, which blue is what I want to use to kind of set off the orangey yellow of this. So let's just, for the sake of argument, let's see what the blues have for us. They're all too light. I don't like any of them. But we'll start with one. We'll start with this one. Then I'll click on the stop. I'll go to the color and I'll make it way, way darker. Like so dark it's hard to see it's blue. Okay, then I'll go to the other end, and you know what? No, I'm going to make this. This is where the center of my gradient's going to be, right here, and that's the outside of the gradient. So I want it to go from black, which it already is, so that it'll hide any irregularities, to blue on the edge. So I'm going to change that actually to black, real black, like down there. It's not quite 0, see, 233, 2 and 0. There's a reason for that. It's because I don't like computer black. It's too black. Okay, then we'll make this dark blue. Hit on the color, go super dark blue like that. All right, so now we have a gradient that goes from black to dark blue, and we just need to decide where we're going to put it. I would start by using a radial gradient, that's the second button along, and just going out from the middle about halfway. Let's pan out so you can see what it looks like. I have bright lights pointing in my face, so I can't quite see the subtlety of the change in color. If you don't like it, hit Command Z. That takes the gradient away. Let's say we wanted it lighter blue. I click on the right color, click again, move it up to there, say. Okay, okay. Then we do it again. Click and drag to the outside. So you see what I'm doing. That's terrible. That's just jarring. Let's drag all the way out to there. It should be very subtle. Maybe you don't like the radial one. Maybe you'd rather have a linear gradient, say going from dark to blue up here. If you make a very short gradient like so, you'll have a very tight transition. If on the other hand you go all the way up, you'll have a soft transition. And if you go like, this is overdoing it a little bit, but if you go from down there to there, you might not even notice the transition. So there, those tools are basically all you need. Now, some of you are saying, oh, hold on just one cotton picking second there, Al, that's rough looking. It is. We haven't refined it yet. The last part of this is refining the mask, which means putting back anything that my mask has cut off or taking away anything that shouldn't be covered. The way I do that is by painting onto the mask using black or white. If I want to remove something, like if I want to add to the mask, what I need to do is paint black where I want it to be masked out. But if you use a blend mode that protects the light areas, then you can stop yourself from removing stuff that you don't want to. You get a little bit of padding in how it does that. So I'm going to pick a brush. I'm going to switch the color to black. Then I'm going to go to my blend modes and I'm going to pick multiply. What that means is that when I paint black on this, it's going to have a greater effect where I want it and a lesser effect and a slower effect where I don't. So because my opacity and flow are at 100%, I just proved that's way too much. So we'll undo that part. Now, if with a lower opacity I do it, you'll see I can gradually remove the bits that I wanted to mask out, yet when I accidentally hit the edge of the leg, it's not taking that as well. It's taking the darker areas preferentially over the light ones. And I go around the whole thing doing this. Then I go back and replace anything that shouldn't have been masked out. To do that, I hit X to change my colors. Then I go to overlay, is usually the easiest one to use, and then do the same thing, only now I'm painting back in things that were taken out that shouldn't have been. This takes a while, and at that opacity it's going to take too long. Now Bud is going to tell you to have the opacity up to 100 and turn the flow rate down so you can paint the effect in layers. Sometimes it doesn't work with a black background, but just to demonstrate it, I'll put it on normal mode. You got to be very careful with this because it'll put everything back in. And well, maybe there wasn't anything to put back in there. And I will paint over the edges like this to bring all the detail back that should be there. And that's all there is to it. That's how I put a colored gradient in. I know that's quick and dirty. Maybe when Bud and I do this other thing, we'll spend some time doing this. Bud's got several other ways he likes to do it that he's probably going to be mad that I'm still doing it this way. But this is the way I've done it for years, and I'm real comfortable with it. But that's all you do. You make the mask, put the gradient in, and then refine the mask so the gradient blends in smoothly with it. And if you have if you're replacing a scruffy black background with a nice clean black background, you have to do very little retouching because you're putting black where black was and you can't really see anything. So that was all I wanted to show in answer to that question that I got earlier in the week. Yeah, I needed more time than just a couple of minutes to zap through that, but yeah, yes, definitely need to see those pepper pictures definitely over on Instagram. Is everybody going to go over there? What is the name of the place? Did you tell us that your Instagram name? Borderland is. I bet it's Borderland Peppers, don't you? That would be my guess. All right, let's see. Yes to software. There are 4 in the R series. Fair enough. Demo. Don't know what that means, Bud, but you probably weren't talking to me. You won't find any critics here, Borderland, except possibly me. I can be critical sometimes. Oh, you need to enter some of your pepper pictures in the competition this month because it's a wild card. You can enter anything you want. Has everybody entered a picture yet? Bruce? I don't hear you. All right. I can't wait to see these pictures. Allan says, We Macro now offers the Raynox DCR tube lens with a Nikon Z mount. Yes, I am getting ready to release the We Macro review, the formal review, the whole thing. It's a 14 chapter video and I cover everything. And one of the things I make a big point about in that video is how much these guys, or this guy, William, are keeping a finger on the pulse of what macro photographers want. Sorry about that. I was looking at that bug thinking that doesn't even look like me. So they are doing a fantastic job of listening to what people need and want to set up their rigs, and then they're making them. The ITL 200 is the best example of that. I think they won me over as a convert for having that. All right, it is Borderland Peppers. I was right. Way to go, way to go. And that's great. Alan, let us know what it's like. The ITL 200 adapter is perfect. Oh, Robbie's already looked at Borderland Peppers. Excellent. Great. Yeah, you couldn't see the entire window. You know why that was? No, I don't know either. I'm not going to mess with it now, guys. It's too late to try. It was working earlier on, but I tell you what, I'll put a short video up showing that without the rush and showing you all of the various tools. Or we can do it when Bud and I get together. But I do apologize for that, Walter. Amy, I'm glad you made it. Good to see you. You love the idea of a Photoshop live stream? Yes. Patrons can donate some pics for examples to edit. Yes, that would be a great idea. In fact, one of the things Bud wanted to do was have you submit photographs that you have already edited and explain how you did it, and then Bud and I can talk about other options or alternative ways. We can do it anyway, but nobody's told me a time yet, so the time's up to me, I guess, and Bud. All right, fantastic. Well, it looks like Borderland Peppers was the hit tonight. We're going to check out that Instagram site for sure. And Amy, you loved the Waddell interview. So did I. Thoroughly enjoyed doing that. It was really great. I'm so glad these people are coming on and talking. It's just what we need, I think. All right. I think I'm about out of time. No, I know you weren't here to be a commercial for Borderland Peppers. I don't think many of my viewers are in that part of Austria to go get some peppers. But no, we're just glad to hear you're doing something different and unusual with your macro, and we want to see more of it, and we'll help any way we can. All right, Amy, I'm going to hold you to that. We'll need one of your pictures for the inaugural show when we get it ready. And several people have gone and looked at the peppers. Good for you guys. All right, I am going to say buenas noches, which is French for probably Spanish for good night somewhere. But you guys have a great week. Don't forget, Zoom chat, private chat group thing, Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Central Time, which is, I just calculated it, 18 hours further ahead. So the next day in New Zealand. And it should be okay for everybody. Europe, it'll be early afternoon. So come join Patreon, folks. If you're not a Patreon, folks, you really should become one. It's good it's good for me. That's what it's good for. All right, everybody likes the idea of a PS live stream. This is fantastic. All right, guys, please hit the like button. What's the like button? Do you know what I discovered? Where is my live stream thing? There it is. I'm going to share this with you. No, I can't move that. Hang on a sec. Just, I am so bad at this. I think I did. I shut my my thing down again, my internet. Anyway, there is a button on that page that Amy's talking about that is a coffee cup or something that you can sell me a cup of coffee or buy me a cup of coffee. I'm not sure what it means. We need to find out, and we need to practice doing that before next week. All right, guys, have a good one. I'll see you in 1 week's time, unless you're coming to the Patreon thing, and I'll see you with a video, the Wii Macro review. The insect study is now officially over, and I'm making the video, so that'll be out shortly. You guys take care, and I will see you very, very soon. Have a good evening.